Hello, everyone, and welcome to the esports department's Infinity Edge podcast. I'm Pikel. I'm joined by Alan 1 and Alan 2, Ghost and the Hef. Not just one, but both of them. We're going to talk some LCS. This is the first LCS slate of the year after the LCS lock-in tournament. Who won the LCS lock-in tournament?
I believe that would have been Team Liquid.
Unlucky.
Uh,
Unlucky.
yeah, I don't know if you want to ask about like the GPP, who won the GPP as well.
Not really, no.
Oh, it was
All right, first
me.
game, TSM against FlyQuest. Stop talking, Alan. Thank you. Ghost, now you talk now. Just kidding. Take your stupid victory lap, and we'll move on with our lives.
I mean, hopefully you already watched the LEC one. You know that LCS was very kind to me. It was a 2-game slate. I don't generally think highly of 2-game slates, but it worked. It worked out, and so maybe I'm an anti-variance kind of guy. Maybe I just need two easy favorites. You throw them in there. You say, "Here it is. Here's $200, and give me 3,000 back." So that's the deal I've cut with DraftKings at this point.
I forget what tournament. I guess it was in the LEC video. I should have mentioned this. At one point during the stat correction, I was like tied for first or solo first in the LEC contest, and then the stat correction changed, and I was like 40th place after that. So that was heartbreaking to me. I thought I was like in the clear, but like when you watch LCS or LEC or any league contest where like they go one by one through the players and like the standings like jump all over the place and then it stops moving.
Yes.
Yeah, I was in the washing machine on that one. That one felt pretty bad.
I feel you there. I got the opposite treatment on that slate. So Patrick and
That's what you got to do. You got to just wait it out. Don't look at the standings, and then maybe a half an hour later, come back and check the damage.
So that's probably the best piece of advice you'll get on the Infinity Edge podcast right there. Don't watch the games. Step away. If you value your mental health that we're talking about.
Team don't watch the games, especially with the LCS, but I guess we can jump right in here to our first game of the slate. We got Team Solo Mid versus FlyQuest. Both of these teams were able to make it to the quarterfinals of the LCS lock-in. They both also exited at the same time, with TSM falling to C9 and FlyQuest falling to Team Liquid. But TSM versus FlyQuest face off against one another, opening up the LCS. Michael, we'll start with you on this one. Team Solo Mid versus FlyQuest. Who do you like? Who's taking this first game of the LCS?
Okay, so TSM is a -179 favorite over FlyQuest. I think FlyQuest is going to be extremely popular. I'm all over TSM. I think that FlyQuest is very overrated right now. I do like Licorice. Huni against Licorice. If TSM drafts like they did in the group stage of the LCS lock-in tournament, then FlyQuest does have a realistic chance of winning this match. At some point, TSM has to do better in their drafts. So I don't know if that's just going to make me limit my exposure to TSM. But they're bad. They were very bad drafts. But they were able to pick up games off of C9, right? So you do have to give them some credit for that. In the jungle, we have Spica against Jose Deodo. Jose Deodo is a very highly touted player coming over from Latin America. He was in the Latin American League. I think that the hype is way too high on him. A good player, but are they much better than Spica? The answer is definitely no. In my opinion, Spica is still, in my opinion, the better jungler and should be thought of as the better jungler. So TSM should have the jungle advantage. I think there will be people out there telling you, "Oh my God, FlyQuest once they got Jose Deodo, they're the best team in the world." Watch out for those people. Power People against Palafox. Power People is definitely better. Lost and Sword Art against Johnson and Diamond. Lost and Sword Art, I think, are also definitely better. The one thing that scares me, and I've already said this, TSM's drafts scare me. FlyQuest's drafts are pretty good in general. So we have seen a lot of the Moonstone kind of stuff, playing Seraphine and champions like that in the bot lane. The Misfortune Seraphine combination is very strong. I think we're getting to the point very soon where there are ready-made counters to the Moonstone meta just by playing faster and having champions that can kind of just like engage extremely hard and pick off a champion like Seraphine. Um, but I don't know if that's like an actionable kind of piece of information to use at this point. Um, so I guess my overall sentiment is I prefer TSM. I want them to win. I'm anti FlyQuest right now because of the hype, and I may have to just limit my exposure to both sides of this match. Do either of you feel like this is going to be a high scoring game that like you can't fade?
I feel TSM just plays to lose if they're going to lose, and then wins. They don't really press their advantages. I guess we'll see if that changes this year. But we'll jump over to Alan for this one. TSM for FlyQuest versus FlyQuest. Who do you got?
Well, Michael was quoting my linemovement.com article when he was talking about how people are going to be writing that Jose Dioto and now FlyQuest is all fixed and all better. Okay, so full disclosure, I have a bet on FlyQuest in this game. But I don't think that, like, you know, they're the greatest team in the LCS or anything. I just think that like plus 150 is probably a little heavy for them, and I think it's because of what you talked about. When you go through the matchups here, I'm not sure that I think TSM smashes any of them besides the mid lane. And you know, from what people who watch Academy, and I'll admit I'm not one of those people, say is that Palafox like stomped in Academy, and we haven't quite seen the best of him yet. So even there, I'm a little, you know, shaky about it. But like, Johnson and Diamond, I think were pretty good throughout this lock-in tournament. They started off a little shaky, but as soon as Jose Dioto got there, they were better. I think that, you know, Jose Dioto and Spica, I agree in a sense that like it's overrated to say that they're completely fixed now that Jose Dioto's here, but he is definitely better, and they looked much better. Their jungler before was awful. NXI looked completely lost, like he wasn't even talking to his team. So I think that you know, you might be underrating FlyQuest a little bit in this spot, but I mean, I could see the aspect where you just fade the game altogether because TSM, I think they're probably priced a little too high for how much I really believe in them as a winner. But then FlyQuest, you can obviously make basically whatever you want with them. Like you can make Johnson stacks and stuff like that. So I will be doing that for sure on this slate. This slate is actually a really interesting one to me, which means the last time I said that, I lost all of my money. I think I cashed one lineup. So you know, who knows? But it does have the 10K to first shock blast, and there are some dogs here that I think make sense, and I also think that, you know, the pricing is pretty loose because of the Evil Genius's 100 Thieves closeness. So this slate I really like. I'll play a little bit of FlyQuest. I will probably play a little bit of TSM with a dog, but this isn't my favorite game on the slate.
All right, Michael, we'll throw it over to you. Your final thoughts on TSM versus FlyQuest?
Yeah, so I think that I mean I don't love the line for this game. Like I don't feel compelled to bet on TSM at minus 180. And I'm not getting enough on FlyQuest. I have plus 136 for them.
Mm.
So I wouldn't come anywhere near that. Um and what that tells me is maybe these lines are moving where it's moving towards FlyQuest. So I would be against that. I think that I want TSM. People have been pretty low on TSM, I think, for the past year or so. So I'm fine with that. I think I'd rather just stick it out with TSM. I think we haven't seen anything close to the best from Lost and Sword Art, and that's really where I think the big misconception of this matchup is going to come from the bot lane. And actually, I think there's probably just going to be people say Licorice is better than Hooney. People say Jose Dioto is better than Spica. People say Johnson and Diamond are going to be better than Lost and Sword Art. So I would want to be against that sentiment for as long as I can. And it's very possible that FlyQuest just comes out and wins the match. And I believe in Sword Art plus anyone long term. So that's really what I'd rather what the side that I'd rather be on.
Yeah, I think that makes a lot of sense. I mean, obviously, I'm on the other side, but I don't think that your argument doesn't make sense. Like, I could see FlyQuest being too owned on this slate for sure.
Yeah.
All right, well, moving on to our second game of the slate, we have Team Liquid versus Immortals.
Well,
Team
actually,
Liquid...
hold up. Sorry, I'm sorry. Over under 20% for FlyQuest in every spot.
I would think under. I would hope under. I mean, that feels really high for them as an underdog, but what do you think, Ghost?
Yeah, I think it would be under. There's 9 other teams on this slate that they can choose from, and TSM are a fan favorite, but we'll just kind of see how it all pans out. I know Twitch chat is loving Jose Dioto memes, and that's all I ever see.
I don't think anyone's going to play Immortals. I don't think anyone's going to play Golden Guardians against C9. I don't think anybody's going to play CLG against Dignitas. But people might play CLG against Dignitas. But then you're paying up for an underdog. So I think that the number is going to be, I would say above. I really do think public sentiment is going to say FlyQuest should be the favorites. I genuinely think that's what we're going to see. I would expect FlyQuest ownership to be higher than TSM ownership.
Okay, so I guess you can expand a little bit on that if that's the way you see it playing out. Would you fade FlyQuest in that situation then if they're going to be that owned?
I'd probably try to play some double dogs.
Okay.
And have that be my only exposure to FlyQuest. I think it's going to be too easy to do FlyQuest Team Liquid, FlyQuest 100 Thieves, FlyQuest C9. So maybe I get exposure to FlyQuest EG, FlyQuest CLG, FlyQuest DIG, and that would be how I try to get my exposure to them.
Yeah, I will just say that looking right now at the esports department's projections, they do not have this game as super highly projected. Although in the LCS, they're all really close, and it's all from the LCS lock-in. So kind of take that with a grain of salt and play what you think are the best plays. I would say over like trying to get too deep into kills per win, death per loss early on with the LCS. That's at least how I'm approaching it.
Another question I'd have for people watching this video: if you want to do some additional research, get some brownie points with us, you go out there, you tell me, first game of the day in every single one of these LEC and LCS slates, are they on average lower kill score than the rest of them? I honestly think the answer is yes, just based off of what I've seen. Because it does, the first people on the day, they're like, oh man, like, we have this game that we have to play. They're thinking about it all day to get right into it. Every other team has the opportunity to watch the first game, or at least know that it's happening. Maybe that's a complete garbage angle, but I do think it's worth the probably, I guess, 20 minutes, 30 minutes that it would take to research that.
Yeah.
Okay. Moving on to our second game of the slate, we have Team Liquid, who won the LCS lock-in, versus Immortals. Immortals had a pretty early exit. They did make it to the quarterfinals for the LCS lock-in. They lost to 100 Thieves 2-0. And Team Liquid went on to show a lot, actually, going all the way to the finals and then beating Cloud9. So Immortals have been sitting there for the past couple of weeks watching Team Liquid play. Is it going to be enough for them to figure out a strategy against Team Liquid and take them down? We'll start with you, Alan, on this one. Team Liquid versus Immortals.
No. Absolutely not. No. Team Liquid is like Rogue in LEC. They don't lose to teams like this, and they just have like a really good idea of what they want to do in a game right now and who they are. I really cannot see them losing their first game to Immortals in LCS. It just does not feel like Team Liquid to me, and so I think the question then, as always, becomes, are they going to score enough to be a winning team on DraftKings? And like I said before, I think that trying to get too deep into death per loss, kills per win at this point in the season is probably probably a mistake, and especially with a team like Team Liquid, because they look like they have really low kills per win, but they always have a well spread out kill participation because a lot of their wins come in team play, like just 5-man fight kind of stuff. And so I used to think that Team Liquid was like a terrible DraftKings team, and I learned pretty quickly that that's actually not the case because they just get a nice kill participation. I mean, obviously, if they're only getting 8 kills, then you're fucked. But if they're getting like 15, um, they seem to really spread it out. So I'll play some Team Liquid with underdogs for sure, but otherwise, I don't really like this game.
All right, we'll kick it over to you, Michael, for this one. Your thoughts on Team Liquid versus Immortals?
Yeah, so Team Liquid, they're minus 900 favorites. That's a big old number. Um, the question for me is how what kind of jungle matchup we're going to see? Because if Xerxes can get a beneficial jungle matchup against Santorin, I don't think it's crazy for them to win. Um, it's not. It probably wouldn't be a very fun game to watch. But that might just end up being who Immortals is this season, where they play these games that are very macro intensive and kind of more cerebral, which will be fun to watch and kind of like enjoyable for people who appreciate League of Legends for the thoughtful side of it. But if you're in this for the kills, maybe not so much. I'm probably going to be betting playing DraftKings against both of these teams very often this split. Immortals because I hate the OCE angle. I cannot stand people talking about Reyes and Destiny as being like very good players because they're from like Australia. Like that just blows my mind. Xerxes is a legitimate player. Is at least league average in the jungle. Revenge, I do think that Revenge is going to be bad. Um, like when it's all said and done, I think people have a negative opinion of Revenge. And then Insanity had some good matches, had some really good matches last year. Um, so it's tough. Do I think that Immortals wins this match more than 20% of the time? Honestly, no. But in order to beat the 500 number, the 530, I think they are as an underdog, that's 16.5%. So if I think it's 20%, I'm not getting a big enough edge to bet it. Um, so I'm probably going to fade Immortals. And then the question is, do I want to play Team Liquid? Um, and I really don't. I don't want to play Team Liquid, and it's kind of what Alan said. It's the kill upside. Is the correlated team fight play of Team Liquid going to be enough to get you there on most slates? I would say probably not. I think there's better spots for DraftKings than Team Liquid.
Yeah, I would agree with that, and the esports department projections definitely agrees with that as well. Team Liquid has the lowest kills kind of favorite, so
Yeah. And that'll be a fun thing and an important thing to watch out for is the tendencies of Team Liquid and a team like Immortals because every week we can kind of go to them and say, well, we think Immortals is probably going to be a macro heavy team. Think about it. Xerxes was on Origin, and Xerxes. It reminds me a lot of these Chinese matchups that we had, where we had like Peanut against Haro. They're both carry junglers. They're both going to try to dictate the pace of play. And in losses and in games that they're losing, like negative game scripts, they're not going to force objectives because they know they're weaker than the other jungler. So I do think it's going to be a jungle focused team, and that'll probably make them play more similar to Origin last year than anything else.
Okay. Moving on to our third game of the slate, we have Evil Geniuses versus 100 Thieves. Evil Geniuses also made it to the quarterfinals, who ended up taking down Golden Guardians to move on to the semis, who eventually lost to Team Liquid 3-0. And 100 Thieves did beat Immortals, moving on to the semis as well, who also had an exit in that 3-2 best of 5 series against Cloud9. I think these teams are pretty close, personally speaking, but maybe Michael, you have a different opinion. Evil Geniuses versus 100 Thieves. Who do you like, and who's taking this match?
Yeah, so 100 Thieves is minus 145, Evil Geniuses plus 112. 100 Thieves is the more public team. I think that a lot of people have good feelings about Golden Guardians from last year, which is going to be 4/5 of this roster. And I think most people can agree that someday is going to be an upgrade over Haunter. Evil Geniuses is not a public team. They had a low kill score in a lot of their matches last year, and their ownership was often a lot lower than other teams. And that's generally the kind of team that I kind of gravitate towards. The one thing that scares me about this match is that both teams will kind of opt into that weird split push, like a TF against an Echo mid lane or a TF against Rise or just some weird thing like that. So can that kind of match turn into a really good DraftKings match? Um, like, because most of the time you have one of those teams against a team fighting team, but when they are the same thing, is that like a double reverse where like it's just as good as two team fight teams playing against each other? My gut says no, and that I don't want to play a lot of either of these teams. If I had to play one team, I'd probably pick Evil Geniuses. But it's really tough. This is the kind of game that like you're gonna feel stupid no matter what happens because it'll either be much higher than you thought it was going to be or much lower. So it is a scary matchup with two live teams. It'll probably depress the ownership for both teams. So if you have some kind of hot take about either side, it might be a spot where you just like double the field in terms of exposure and hope that you get the 1 in 5 outcome of this being the bloodiest game.
All right, Alan, we'll go to you for your thoughts on Evil Geniuses versus 100 Thieves.
I think I generally agree with what Michael was saying as a strategy approach here. I think that for me, it'll be 100 Thieves that I am on, and if they just end up losing the game, then it is what it is for me. I trust them a little bit more right now. I think that EG is live to win the game, and I will probably hedge a couple of lineups with them right now. I looking at my exposure and I don't have any of them. I have a lot of 100 Thieves because 100 Thieves did project really well in the esports department projections. I think that's because Evil Geniuses was showing that sort of aggressive, scrappy look a lot during the LCS lock-in tournament. And I would expect that to stay the same here because, I think that roots mostly from Jizuke and Ignar together. And so that won't change. So I think that whoever wins this game has a decent opportunity to be in the winning lineup, and I like the idea that because it's one of those coin flip type of games for whatever reason. It makes a lot of sense. Like if you're somebody who's just throwing one or two lineups into a large field GPP, number one, stop doing that. You're wasting your money. But number two, if you're unless you're like have a long term strategy built out for yourself, but uh, it makes sense that you wouldn't want to play a game like this because you look at them and you're like, I'm not 100% sure who's gonna win here, but I do know who's gonna win in a different game, and then you end up with two teams that are just not owned enough because and they're two good teams, right? So I just think that this game sets up well to win on this slate. Even though I don't think it's like a huge outcome, like Michael said. Like there are certain situations where the game is not a bloody game, like the split push situation. But if it is the bloodiest game, I don't think that people are gonna have enough of it, and so I want to have more of it than they do. So that's how I'm approaching this game. It's gonna be 100 Thieves for me, and probably one or two Evil Geniuses hedges.
All right, Michael, anything else to add, or are you ready to move on?
Mm, the only thing I would say is I don't think I would hedge this match. I think I'd pick a side and let the other side potentially beat me. That's it though.
I think that also makes sense.
Moving on to our fourth game of the slate, we have the Golden Guardians versus Cloud9. Cloud9 made it to the finals, who tried to make a comeback and lost to Team Liquid 3-2, and the Golden Guardians had an early exit in the quarterfinals to EG. Um, I know I've been joking a lot about Fudge and not being a great top laner. I hope I'm wrong for Cloud9's sake. And I also mentioned that, for the listener pick of the week, anyone against Cloud9 this weekend, because I do think they can drop one of the 3 games going into this slate of games. But we'll start with you with this. Start with you, Alan, on this one. Golden Guardians versus Cloud9. How do you see this game shaping out?
I think that Cloud9's going to win. Another humongous hot take for me coming out here. And I think that playing Golden Guardians in this spot is probably a mistake in my opinion. I just don't think that they literally have the talent to compete, which is kind of the baseline of when I'm trying to pick an upset. I'm like, okay, is there somewhere that there's a talent discrepancy that, on the day could even favor Golden Guardians? And you look through the names on Golden Guardians and you're like, it's just not gonna happen, right? So I think that Cloud9 is going to be highly priced. They're going to be highly owned, but it's for good reason. Blabber drives his team into a lot of fights, even unnecessary fights, some people would say, but that's a really good thing for DraftKings. And so, I wouldn't like if you approach Cloud9 the same way that you approach G2 on these slates. I'm not going to say you're wrong to do that. And I think that Cloud9 is probably going to see lower ownership, at least at first, than G2 did. So I will have some Cloud9. They don't fit great with what I want. So it'll be like some, Cloud9 with FlyQuest as an underdog, some Cloud9 with Dignitas. We'll get to that game later on, and then maybe like a support captain situation with Cloud9 or something like that. But I don't think that there's really a chance that Cloud9 loses this game. In my opinion, I mean, I I think that they're going to want to start off the LCS right this time around after some issues in the lock-in tournament. I mean, I don't even really know if there were issues. They lost to some good teams and they were figuring out who they were. So I think they're going to be just fine. And Golden Guardians is not the team to pull the day one upset for me.
So before we go over to Michael on this one, you mentioned going double support with favorites. If you were going to go C9 here, what other favorite are you going to be pairing them with? Is it going to be a Team Liquid or a TSM?
No, I don't think that I had a lineup like that. Let me pull up here and I'll answer that question directly. So I actually haven't built one like that, but I do have 100 Thieves top captain with Cloud9 because you can have Someday as your captain or Fudge or something, whatever side of that you like better. I personally would lean towards the Someday side, and that one works. So I think that one makes sense. I suppose I might have spoke too soon about the possibility of playing the Cloud9 support with Team Liquid because I thinking about that I don't like that very much.
Okay, that's fine. I just wanted to know if there was a 2 games you thought were going to be high kill and also that good participation where support captains could, see the top of that list.
No, I think that there's better spots. I think I did have a lineup like that earlier this morning, and then I got rid of it because I saw the rest of my line.
Alrighty. Well, we'll move on to you, Michael, for this one. Golden Guardians versus Cloud9. Who do you like? Is there a shot for Golden Guardians in this spot?
I'm not playing Golden Guardians, but I do appreciate what they have tried to do in their games. I think a lot of their drafts have been pretty cool. It honestly it kind of looks like they watch a lot of Invictus Gaming with how they approach the game, which maybe long term is good for them. But I think that the much better angle from this match would be to try to get a lot of exposure to somebody like Perks and just play a ton of Perks until you hit, because mid lane captains are undervalued right now. The meta is very ADC heavy and jungle heavy right now. But I think that we will see that change because of the types of champions you can play potentially in the mid lane right now. Perks plays a lot of very good champions in the mid lane for DraftKings scoring. So I think that's really the better angle to play long term from this match. I would also want exposure to Fudge. So it's really, how do I get my exposure to C9 while being a little bit different? That's really the only side that I'm going to be playing from this game. That's is basically it. It's not a fun answer. Um,
That's
but
okay.
that's really, I think, probably maybe not the best way to approach it. Maybe there is a better way to approach it. Um, but that's really all I'm seeing from this match. Like I'm not trying to reinvent the wheel over here to get Golden Guardians into my lineup.
Yeah, all jokes aside about Fudge, Cloud9 should probably roll this game.
Yeah.
They are probably going to be less owned than G2 because of Cloud9 showing an LCS lock-in, but take your shots on C9 if you want. Maybe Golden Guardians just try to fight for every objective on the map.
Here's a way to think about it for a second. Perk's salary is what times the combined salaries of the entire Golden Guardians roster, do you think?
Oh, in real life money?
Yes. 5?
Is it? Do you know the answer or no?
No, I have no idea. I'm just saying, like, it's that kind of underdog situation, right? It's like one player on this team makes maybe 5 times what the combined players of Golden Guardians make. So
that's a sad way to think about it.
You can find better spots.
It's probably 2.5 or 3 to 1, I think.
Yeah,
because the buyout was so high. But yeah, I agree. Like there's a reason why a lot of the Golden Guardians players are not thought very highly of. It doesn't mean they can't win a match. And like I said, I do like their drafts. I think that the Quinn game they played was interesting, even though they ended up losing. The fact that they had the audacity to pick something like that is something that you want to keep an eye on, because if they keep trying to pull things like that out, if that hits one time every 5 matches, then you're going to have players like Niles actually be relevant for DraftKings, even as one-offs. So I'm not going to use them that way in the short term, but when we get them up against teams like CLG, it'll be interesting at least to consider them.
Well, speaking of CLG, they are on next here for our 5th game of the slate. Michael's new favorite team, CLG versus Dignitas. Pretty interesting match to end the game, or interesting match to end the day on. I might just take a nap during this one, but we'll go to you for this one. Go to you, Michael, first on this one. Counter Logic Gaming versus Dignitas. Who do you like from this one? Will you be using a 4 stack? Are they fantasy relevant?
Yeah, I think that this is the kind of match you definitely want to get more exposure to, because everyone just sleeps on these kinds of matchups. Obviously neither team is neither team is expected to be very good. And I've won slates this way before, where you try to find out like which game do people not care about and not want to watch. Get both sides of that, stack them with favorites as primary and secondary stacks, and then just actually end up watching the game and profit, especially if it's the last game. Like it's not the same as like NBA where it's the late night hammer, and like it's a spotlight game compared to everything else. Every game is theoretically a spotlight game in the LCS, but it is fun to watch your teams skyrocket up the scoreboard. That is a very fun thing to watch, I can tell you that much. So in regards to the actual matchups in the game, I think that the fact that Finn was bought out, like, is already hilarious, because every time the LEC has a broadcast, they talk about Rogue and they say like, "Oh yeah, Finn was kind of horrible last year. It's a great thing that they have Ottawamne now because he's a good veteran presence and he's gonna help the team be better." And like CLG paid like what, $1 million for him, or $1.5 million for him. Like, what are you doing? It makes a lot of sense after today. But Fake God against Finn, I think Fake God's probably just as good as Finn right now, which is hilarious to think. Dardoch against Griffin. Dardoch is better than Griffin, period. And Griffin is Wiggly, right? So just Dardoch is better. Brox is not here yet, supposedly, some visa issues still. He made some kind of like depressing Twitter post about like, things aren't going great with like my visa situation or something, and like it sucks, but like people were sending me information from Discord about how they're like sending positive energy and positive messages my way. And I've said it before, I'll say it again, I'll say it 1,000 times. Broxa is the consummate professional. He says all of the right things, and it's impossible to not like him. CLG, on the other hand, very easy to not like. James Dolan is involved in the Madison Square Garden company, and they have driven the Knicks into the ground. Good job, you got Julius Randle. I do like Elfrid Payton. Emmanuel quickly looks kind of good. But it's unforgivable. The things that James Dolan has done to New York Knicks fans it's just that's the way that it is. You just can't forgive the man, and you have to hate everything that he touches, especially his horrible band. But moving on, Soligo against RJS or Pobelter. Does anyone know who this RJS person is?
I do not know who RJS is. I do think it is a good thought that Pobelter is not going to be playing because he did play the Academy game today, and there are rumors circulating that there were disagreements on stuff in scrims and attitude issues, I guess.
Good. Oh my god, if I'm Pobelter's girlfriend is so hot. If you are Pobelter and you've been around forever and you're dating a smoke show and you don't have to care about the money and they trot you out there next to Wild Turtle, you think that's gonna be okay to Pobelter? He's the notorious POB. He's gonna scream at everyone in scrims. There was a ton of stuff when he was like a 15 or 16-year-old in the first couple of years of LCS, how he was like some kind of prodigious talent and he had like a genius IQ, and that was just like a meme that was going around. Like, if that's your background story and now you're dating a smoke show and they're making you play with Wild Turtle, how are you not going to be beside yourself angry about everything? Like, why would I waste my time playing this video game? It just doesn't make sense. I've made enough money. I don't know if he has or not, but he will make more money because he's a pretty popular guy, and his girlfriend is a smoke show. She will make more than enough money to support the both of them for the next 10 years doing things on the internet. That's what's going to happen with them. I'm telling you. I hope Pobelter goes somewhere else. I'd be out of there so fast. Get me off CLG.
I can't. I don't have anything to follow up with. I don't like CLG either in this spot.
Good answer.
But
Good answer.
it's
Fantastic.
like
I'm glad we agree. Good.
there's
Okay,
just
so
nothing that can be said.
I'll bring it back here to some DFS relevancy. If we're both not liking CLG in this spot, do we think Dignitas is in a good spot to be the highest score on the slate if CLG just feeds into them, or will they take a more reserve approach to the game? Alan, I'll let you take that one.
Yes, I think that they are in a good spot to be the highest scoring team because you can play them as like 80 carry mid captains with favorites. So they don't even have to score, the highest kill score, and you could still win with them. Like, I did that with Excel on a slate last weekend where like Excel only got like 15 or 16 kills, but because you could get Patrick as the captain, it was like, all right, well, I guess I just do this because it's there. So that exists with Dignitas because they are, for some reason I cannot figure out at all, they opened as the underdog in this game. I think they have moved to being like basically right at a coin flip. But this morning, I got them at plus 100, and I was like, I can't believe this with CLG starting RJS and whatever Wiggly's name is now. So, Griffin, thank you. Got there by myself.
Thank you to me.
Didn't have to say thank you. Yeah. So I don't know if, like, I think that most people who play DraftKings League of Legends have a pretty good idea about the teams, but if there are those people that are out there that are just looking at like betting favorites and stuff and think that CLG is the favorite team here, I want all of the Dignitas I can have, basically. So yeah, I think that Dignitas is a great play on this split. I think I have about 20 lineups, and I think I have 10 that have Dignitas in them, and if they end up screwing me, I don't care. I'll eat that because I think that they're in that kind of spot.
Yeah, so the last thing I'm going to say about this, and it may, shock some people. I think that I will have probably at least 6 CLG lineups uh, if I play about 20 on this slate. I genuinely think that when you're playing DFS, it can't be about, your negative feelings towards a team or a specific player or whoever, because CLG is the kind of team who gets into these ridiculous games where it's like 25-20 and they just continuously team fight you and they're up by like 3 or 4,000 gold, but they can't close out the game and they just keep fighting you and they have a little bit of an advantage, so they barely squeak out a win. That's who they are. I would honestly feel even better if Pobelter was playing, so that makes me a little bit more hesitant to get those 6 lineups in. But if you can get CLG with like one combination of every other team on the slate that you think has a realistic chance to win, or two combinations of with every team that you think has a good chance to win and score highly, I think it's a good angle. And everyone knows I don't respect Wild Turtle as a professional League of Legends player. I don't like CLG. I hate James Dolan. But if you're telling me that CLG is going to be like 2% owned, 3% owned, which they could really end up being that low on this slate, then I have to play them. Like, I have to. And maybe I lose money that way 5 or 6 times in a row this year, but I will be giving myself legitimate first overall upside in these tournaments. So it's insane and degenerate level thinking, but that's really how I end up approaching these one game slates.
But
And
you'll play
for the
both
record,
sides, right?
yeah, I would play
Yeah,
both sides. For the record, I do better on one game slates, um, by far. If
best of
if if
ones.
if I could only play best of one slates, I would only play best of one slates. My biggest problem with the LPL LCK is the fact that it's 3 matches, and anytime that I think there's a realistic underdog, I'll just play them because like I don't really care, and like, it's fun money ultimately. So I'll just go on these big losing streaks because I'm playing underdogs on the LPL LCK when the real chances of them winning is so much lower. So um that's just the reality of the situation.
Totally agree. These slates are so much more fun because the range of outcomes is just so much higher on these slates. So
Yeah.
and we actually get a good prize pool on this particular LCS one, so that's nice as well.
Yeah, for DraftKings, I think that the best of one 4 or 5 game slates are so much more fun than like the 4 game slates, best of threes every single one. It's like 7 or 8 hours if you want to watch all the games, or maybe like 6 or 7 hours. It's just too much most of the time. It goes from like 3 a.m. to 6 a.m., 3 a.m. to 7 a.m. or 10 a.m. Way too much for me.
All right. I know we spent a lot of time on this matchup, but for those of you who don't know much about RJS, he was primarily on the CLG Academy team for this year. He's played 4 games in Academy. His last one was on January 29th. He's currently 1-3, or yeah, 1-3 for wins and losses. And before he became CLG's mid laner for Academy, he played a lot of top lane. So he has not been a mid lane main for all of his career, which may provide some caution to rostering him against Dignitas.
All right.
Honestly,
Let's just
honestly,
yeah, go ahead.
I'm being 100% honest. I don't care about that at all. And this is from personal experience coaching players. We have a player on Yale. He was uh, a one trick Quinn player, right? Top lane grandmaster, borderline challenger level player. Only played Quinn top and solo queue. We told him we can't play that way in our competitive matches. We won't win if you do that. And he's like, okay, I'm going to learn Aurelia and I'm going to learn Cassidon. And this guy will 1v9 in our matches. And it's insane. He's a freshman this year, super good player. really honestly exciting to watch him play the game because he'll do this like ridiculous stuff that you're like, oh my god, I can't believe he's going in right now. It's like in basketball when you have the guy shooting threes from like 35 feet away, and you're like, oh my god, don't take that shot, and he takes the shot and he makes it, and you're like, oh my god,
The
why
no,
did you
no,
do this?
no, yes play. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. He's gonna take that
Yeah.
shot 10 more times this game, and he'll probably hit it 1 or 2 more times.
J.R.
But
Smith.
like, and I know I might be giving too much credit to RJS as a player, but think about it. My player is a grandmaster level player, maybe borderline challenger. This guy RJS is probably a high level challenger player. Picking up new champions for in a game that you've probably been playing for at least 5 or 6 years, it's really not that difficult. The fact that other professional players don't do it as often is more of an indictment on them than it is on like the kind of expectations we should be putting on a player like RJS. So I'd be willing to give them the benefit of the doubt in the short term. Um, it's crazy, and maybe that burns me most of the time, but I think I think that what you guys are saying is going to force most people just completely off of them, and it's going to drive down their ownership into low single digits.
I do have to note another thing here. Sorry about that. RJS is actually a name change. This used to be CLG Deuce. If that rings any bells for you guys.
Wait,
Deus?
that's
Wait a second. Oh, it's the guy from Europe, right?
uh
Yeah, looking back at his match history,
he's the guy with the
um,
long hair. I can picture him in
Oh,
my
he's from Canada.
yeah.
Yeah, I know who this is.
Yeah, this team all right, this team is a fucking mess. What the hell is this? I mean, like, it's not even a it sounds like it's not even a merit based replacement. It sounds like they got in a little fight with Poe Belter and they just said fuck you and put a different mid laner in. So yeah, I'm very anti CLG now. This sounds like a very bad situation. So let's not waste too much more time.
okay,
Go ahead, but we'll I'll pull up the bankroll challenge stuff while you guys are talking.
right.
I'm
My
I'm
main goal
pretty
was there just
sure
to get a little more clarification on what was going on because even RJS, I thought it was a new player. But after some digging, that's where I got.
Yeah, no, that's
RJS
good information.
RJS as Deus may have been on the team with LS when he was a coach in Korea. This because this guy played in Korea for about a year with I'm assuming um I'm assuming that was LS's team. Um that's very interesting to me. It's it's not it may not be actionable, right? But for someone like myself who is highly skeptical of the ability of North American scouts and just scouts in general in League of Legends, I think that this could be the kind of player who slipped through the cracks for a long time and may eventually make their way on the stage and actually be very good. Um, I don't know.
He
It's
played a
super.
couple times last split
You're
with
right.
CLG.
He did play on BBQ Oliver's for
Mm.
that team.
Yeah, he played a couple
Alrighty.
times last split, but I mean that team was already their season was done, so who knows what to make of that kind of stuff. But
But wasn't he supposed to be like a carry top laner? Like,
he
because he's
was,
playing
yeah.
things like Gangplank. He's playing Gangplank, Vlad, Aatrox. Like, these are a lot of good champions. And it's not only that they're good champions; they're the type of champions you would expect from a player who is uh supposed to carry the game.
All right.
Okay. Well, we're gonna move on to our bankroll challenge. Alan, I believe you have the slate pulled up. If
I,
we want to get into that and start
I
building our
sure I sure do. So here we are. We're currently $66 in the hole with a nice 0% cash rate.
Swag.
That is a part of playing GPPs. That's why you have a bankroll. You stick to playing within that bankroll. And obviously, if we were to win a contest tomorrow, we would be in the profit. So that's going to be our goal with this one. So to me, with this late, I feel like you just take a stand between one of these two games and then play them with Cloud9. I don't know what you guys think about.
Um.
I like the thought. Yeah.
Yeah, I do want C9. I how do we do that?
Can we do a 4-3 dig? C9 dig?
Yes, we can. Um, And I think we can even do perks captain scenario Sligo. So that might be the spot. Let me find the contest we usually play. Alright. So yeah, we started with perks captain. Do you guys want to try that?
Sure.
Go for it.
And then I would fill it out probably with fake god here. What do you think between these two?
I'm more keen to blabber on this one.
Yeah.
Cool. I would agree.
Well, actually,
I mean, it's
the price differential between those two players is probably going to be the difference between
oh yeah, they are
getting
If it
$1,000.
fits. Okay.
yeah, between it fitting, but also we might be able to get a better team in as the secondary stack if we go FUD. Like if we went we could probably fit C9 100 Thieves.
We can. That's you definitely can do that. Is that's
Do you
kind of
feel
my
better
thinking. Is,
about 100 Thieves winning than Dignitas, though?
Mm,
to me, I was thinking C9 Dignitas because I do feel
I'm fine
better
with that.
about
I'm fine with
Dignitas.
That's 100 off. That's something they anticipated, I guess.
So let's go back to that perks. Dardoch for sure. We can kind of come back to the top laner. So obviously perks captain lineup, and then only 600 difference between the characters. You guys want to try and see if we can fit Sven here?
Yeah. Yeah, definitely.
So I'm wondering if we play Sven Vulcan here, play Dignitas. So that does work.
Yep.
That looks pretty good to me. I don't know what you guys think.
Yeah, I'm fine with this. I kind of I think I'll have C9 C9 CLG lineups.
Yeah.
As well, but this is the kind of lineup that does feel pretty good. If you go to the other roles, how far off are we from fitting another C9 player in?
Oh.
If just go to like top. Just don't even exit anybody out. If you just go to okay.
Oh yeah, so we're 100 away from being able to get Fudge.
Yeah, so put Fake God back in, and then just click the jungle tab. Yeah, leave Dardoch in and go. Yeah, okay. So,
yeah, so we're 500 away from being able to get Blabber in there.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
So I mean, I do think that this is kind of around as good as it gets for like Cloud9. Maybe we could play Cloud9 team.
No, you should leave. You should leave Dig, and then what you should do is click all games.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and then get rid of Fake God. All right, we could get another favorite in. So I would say probably put Fake God back, and then get rid of Dardoch. Okay, and then put Dardoch back, and then get rid of Saligo, and do that until you might find a player who you like much more than the other player from Dig. And if we're going to be playing single entry stuff, this is a really good way to get exposure to C9 and hedge against bad outcomes where you still might be able to cash. It does require a third thing to hit.
Yeah.
But
yeah, to me, I feel like, well, I mean, I agree that this has a higher floor situation, but I mean, I feel like it is asking a lot to have 3 hit. I mean, it makes some sense, but the problem is it kind of goes against what you want, right? So if we were to throw DeMonte here, then we're probably saying closer outscores Dardoch and like our opponents who have that. But I mean, I don't think it's like a horrible way to play, but I don't know.
I wouldn't do Demonte specifically.
Hmm.
So if you put Saligo back in, it might be something where you go. Oh, I'm not getting rid of Sven. And I don't think I'd get rid of Vulcan either.
Yeah,
It'd
so it'd have to be the team for the one-off, which
well, I think top or jungle. I think I'd probably go top or jungle. Because what do you even get for team? Oh, TSM or something like that. That's really not that bad.
yeah,
TSM 100 Thieves could be fine.
yeah,
Because even if it's a macro heavy game, like they should still get most of the points you expect from a team in a win.
sure. Yeah. You want to try 100 Thieves? Or
It's up to you
TSM?
guys. I mean, I'm fine with leaving Dig and I'm fine with pivoting. I think that they're both fine. It's just like how often I don't
Would
think it's really gonna
you?
save us, you know.
Would it matter swapping Saligo and Perks, and then seeing if we can get Team Liquid team slot?
I
Or
wouldn't
would you
want
rather have the upside with Perks?
I'd rather swap Soligo with Perks and then also get in Blabber, something like that.
Yeah.
Because
That's
then we could
also
do
that is an
yeah.
option for sure. Yeah, I'm down with that. I actually kind of like that better maybe. So we try and play 4 C9.
Yeah. The players, yeah.
Yeah. That scenario, we would not be able to get Dignitas teams.
But if we got Evil Geniuses or FlyQuest, I don't think that's terrible either. The fact that you're getting four C9 players is pretty good. The thing that we're afraid of then and at that point is if like the 1.5x for captain is what ends up killing you.
Yeah.
Because then you can go down to like Blabber captain. But what I've noticed recently is with DraftKings scoring, going down to jungle captain really isn't getting you many more good combinations.
It's true. They've definitely
But I
caught
also have
up
to
to
check
that a little bit.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I think I would be most comfortable just keeping the initial lineup with the Perks and Sligo switched, and then
Yeah, just 4 dig, yeah.
okay. Well, I will put that one in, and we can wrap it up.
Sounds
All right,
good to
sounds
me.
good. Any other final closing thoughts on the LCS slate?
No, I think it's a really exciting slate, and I think that there are more options here than there have been for LEC for the last couple of slates. So I'm really excited to have this one back.
Yeah,
Awesome.
I think it's more. It just honestly feels like more of a crapshoot because like TSM-FLY Quest, either team could win, and what is that?
I didn't PayPal my account, so I had to have them mail me the check.
From DraftKings.
So they just knocked on the door and dropped off a DraftKings check.
Oh, that's so funny.
Wow.
Incredible timing. Advertisement.
Yeah, I think C9 is really the only one you can feel very good about. That's ultimately what I'm thinking about on this slate in terms of DraftKings upside. Like even Team Liquid, I'm kind of afraid of them, and that's really the quote unquote beauty of the LCS is anybody can do anything and nobody's gonna be surprised.
All right, that's a great way to end this LCS show. I want to thank everyone for watching today. If you enjoyed this video, be sure to like and subscribe to the Esports Department YouTube channel. I also want to thank you, Michael and Alan, for joining me tonight. You can find Michael at League of Items and Alan at LCS Picks on Twitter. Hit them up; they put out some great content. If you want to find me on Twitter, I'm at xghostwriter90. Send me a follow. I stream on Twitch when my computer doesn't try to blow up on me. But if you want to support us in other ways, you can grab a subscription over at the esportsdepartment.com today and enter the code IEDGE to get 10% off a subscription. You get projections for League of Legends, CSGO. You'll also receive access to Gelati's betting picks and game write ups for LPL, LCK, LEC, LCS, all of them. And you'll also gain access to John's breakdowns of the LPL and LCK, which there's a slate coming up this morning. Good luck on the slate, and let's make some money.
Let's.
do it.